Imagine that what happened on the first Pentecost happened here this morning. Suppose strong driving winds began to rip through this church. And suppose that tongues of fire began to settle on people's heads. What would you do? I think I'd be scared. Honestly, I think I'd run. I think I'd want to get out of here as fast as I could. I'm not sure I would have made a very good first century Christian disciple. The image of the Spirit in the first reading today might seem intimidating, even frightening. Driving winds threatening to knock you down. Flames close enough to set your hair on fire, if you have any. But that's not what happened. The Spirit's coming doesn't bring devastation. Rather, the coming of the Spirit fulfills a promise, realizes a dream, gathers the scattered, unites the many, fills the empty, discloses what's hidden, reveals the unknown, opens minds, enters hearts, brings understanding, heals what's wounded, and mends what's broken. Hurricane winds and open flames, but no one is harmed. And that's because, in addition to all the special effects of the first Pentecost, there's a phrase in the Acts of the Apostles that we might easily miss, words that fill in the whole story. These words, they were all filled with the Holy Spirit. We can be so mesmerized by the exterior audibles and visuals that we miss the interior movement in this scene. The people gathered there were filled with the Holy Spirit. More than 2,000 years later, I can't help but think of how much each one of us needs, how much our world needs to be filled with the Holy Spirit, to be filled with the power and fire of God's help to help us gather together what's disordered and scattered in our minds, in our hearts, in the world. We need the Spirit's help to unite what's splintered in our families, in our communities, in the global village of the world's nations. We need the Spirit to fill us, to fill and satisfy the lonely emptiness that the culture around us so frequently fails to satisfy. We need the Spirit to help us uncover and disclose what we hide in the corners of our souls. We need the Spirit's help to reveal the truth we need to know, truth we must face. We need the Spirit's help to open our minds and hearts when they're walled in by anxiety and fear, by prejudice and bias. We need the Spirit's help to bring ourselves to understand the people around us, to think as they might think, to see as they might see. We need the Spirit's help to heal our wounded hearts and to mend the jagged brokenness that fractures the peace the world so much desires. When we received the sacrament of confirmation, we were anointed with, we were given the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit. Just in case you're a little rusty on the Spirit's gifts, here they are. Wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, and the desire to reverence and worship God. All those gifts were given us at confirmation. The question is, did we ever open them up? Have we used them? Have we lived them? Have we shared those gifts? Is there anyone among us here this morning who doesn't need all those 7 gifts of the Spirit? Is there anyone among us who doesn't need to be filled with the Holy Spirit, who comes in wind and power and flame to touch us, to anoint us, to bless us, to move us, to inspire and energize and heal us, to fill us with a breath of new life and set our hearts on fire with an enthusiasm and a zeal we once had, but now may only faintly remember. So if you're sitting there wondering, as I do, have I opened the gifts I received at confirmation? Well, there's actually a way to tell. St. Paul, writing to the Galatians, wrote about the fruits of the Holy Spirit, the sweet fruit the Spirit brings to life when we open and share the Spirit's gifts. And the fruits of the Holy Spirit are these: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, generosity, gentleness, faithfulness, modesty, self-control, and purity. If we've opened up the Spirit's gifts, those are the fruits we should be enjoying. Those are the fruits that should be the hallmarks of our lives. Well, just looking around, first at myself and at others and the world we live in, I'd say that we all still have some work to do in opening up the Spirit's gifts. And I would say that the world we live in is in desperate need of the fruits of the Spirit, in desperate need of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, generosity, gentleness, faithfulness, modesty, self-control, and purity. We need those gifts, those fruits. The descent of the Holy Spirit didn't come as a complete surprise to the first disciples. 40 days after Easter, just before Jesus ascended to heaven, he promised he'd send his Spirit. So they were waiting for it. They were waiting 9 days since the ascension in that upper room, the same place that Jesus had shared his Last Supper with them. They were waiting there and praying for the Spirit to come. Well, we are gathered here in our upper room, where we come to celebrate the Lord's Supper. So perhaps we could pray, you and I could pray this morning for another Pentecost, for the Spirit to come again upon us and upon our world. So I'm going to pray here. If it helps you to close your eyes, close your eyes. Come, Holy Spirit, and move in our lives like a strong wind, pushing us in the right direction towards you and your grace and your gifts. Come, Holy Spirit, and touch our lives with healing. Heal us of the blindness that keeps us from seeing the truth. Heal us of the paralysis that keeps us from doing what is good and right and just. Come, Holy Spirit, and change our hearts, change our old ways, and show us a new way. Change our minds when they're tightly closed. Change our thinking when our thinking stinks. Change the ways we care for one another, for our families, our friends, our neighbors, for strangers, and for those most in need of a share in the bounty that's ours. Come, Holy Spirit, and transform our lives. Transform our souls with your mercy and pardon. Transform our ways with your saving word. Transform our outlook with trust and hope. Transform our world with the work of justice that leads us to peace. Come, Holy Spirit, and purify us. Purify all our thoughts and desires. Purify our ambitions and schemes. Purify all our designs and intentions. Purify us in our words and our deeds. Purify us from the inside out. Come, Holy Spirit, give voice to the goodness in each living being. Give voice to the song that praises God's name. Give voice to our cry for an end to war, to oppression, violence, and terror. And here I'm going to pause for a few moments of silence, time for each of us to search our hearts and pray for the Spirit to come into our individual lives, wherever each of us might most be in need of the gifts and the fruits of the Spirit's wind and flame. Let's pause and pray. In a few moments, here in our upper room, we will pray for the Spirit to come down over our gifts of bread and wine and to make of them, for us, the body and blood of Christ, who is our Passover, our everlasting peace. May the Holy Spirit come down like a flame of fire and settle upon each of us and help us open the gifts we've been given so that, like bread, we might be broken and shared to nourish others. And like wine, we might be poured out to fill and heal our neighbors' hearts. Come, Holy Spirit. Come fill the hearts of your faithful people and kindle in us, in each of us, the fire of your love. Come, Holy Spirit. Come.